Hello, everybody. Hi, this is Greg, and this is Amy.
Hi.
And we're gonna have like a little dialogue about the movie we just saw. We just witnessed and watched the movie The Bird Box. It was on Netflix, and so Amy was able to see it yesterday, and I watched it today with her again. So she got like a really lot of things she wanted to share and things I want to share too. So we're gonna have a little dialogue about that and just kind of talk. So there's gonna be spoilers in this one, and so as we share different things, different points of view. So Amy, you want to go first, or should I go first? Me? All right. This movie is a very interesting movie for Netflix. We really liked it because you know us, we pretty much like a lot of the things we watch. So one of the things is that this give you some of the background details. This movie was directed by the movie is called Bird Box and was directed by Susan Bayer, produced by Chris Morgan, Barbara Muschetti, Scott Studer, Dylan Clark, Clayton Townsend. Screenplay by Eric Heiser, based on Bird Box by John Malloram, and starring Sandra Bullock and a host of more characters, including John Malkovich and even BD Wong from Jurassic Park. You know, he's Doctor Wu. Anyway, so a couple things that jumped out at me in this movie was that it was like a one of those things. Like for me, it seemed like there was a pending doom, and people kind of, well, it's not my problem kind of thing. It's over there. And then what happened was like when it started to creep over to where it got closer to home, to finally it was like at your doorstep, is when people
Started to care.
seriously took it serious, you know. And it was like, you know, it kind of has an aspect of like breaking into people's lives. Whatever this thing was, it kind of broke into people's lives. They never really explained it fully, but there was a lot of references that I found quite interesting to it, and I wanted to share some of that. Um, this one of the things I thought about was just that how most people are just, it's called what it called affluent. There's a ignorant and affluent. It says I don't know and I don't care. It says, and so people don't care about stuff. They have a thing where they don't care until it's right there. And in this situation, they have a super people do that because they want to protect themselves from harm, and they want to protect themselves from the world kind of creeping in and ruining their lives. And that kind of happens a lot. People do that. So what ended up happening in this story is that there was a girl. She somehow found herself pregnant, and she's Sandra Bullock's character finds herself pregnant, and she doesn't want to. She wants a baby. So, but then this thing happens, and she has a sister who's very cheerful and very loving and very careful, and she's always trying to encourage her to do more things and be more. And then whatever it was that was in the storm, it caught her, and it caused her to die. And so from there it becomes like a roller coaster ride because now she's pregnant and she has a baby, and then her sister's dead, and now she's trying to figure out what to do, and it's just like it's a whirlwind. It's a big whirlwind because you're just kind of like trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And in the midst of this, you have a thing where these little birds, they find toward the middle of the story, they find birds, and it becomes a symbol of the entire story. I don't want to take away all the thunder, and so I just want to leave some for Amy to share. But I didn't get to many of my main points I want to share yet, but I'll just kind of come back to that. So, Amy, here's a couple. Go ahead and say something.
Well, the story is about a lady who doesn't really have a lot of emotional connections with people. She's been hurt by a past relationship, the father of her baby, and she's pregnant, and she doesn't really connect with people. And she's a painter, she's an artist, and she kind of like just stays in her house all the time. And her
Mm-hmm.
sister kind of comes and visits her and see if she's alive and brings her groceries and tries to cheer her up a little bit. So she's kind of like sad about life and kind of like sad about being pregnant, but she's having the baby, and she paints stuff about people not being connected to people. So it's kind of like something out of her heart. She's painting on canvas. So you have this relationship with her and her sister. They love each other. They obviously really, really connect with each other. They are there for each other. So that's your beginning part of your movie. And basically, Sandra was going to go to the hospital all by herself and have the ultrasound all by herself, or the sonogram or whatever it's called, for the baby. And yeah, I was going to have just basically go see the baby and everything by herself, and wasn't going to invite the sister to even connect to that precious time that she would, see the baby and, hear the heartbeat and everything like that. So So eventually the sister's like, hey, I'll drive you. Like, no, don't do that. No, I want to go. I want to go. So they go to hospital together. So, yeah, that's when the situation where they saw far, far away was
Yeah, another
happening,
country far away.
and they didn't really care until it starts happening to them and like, oh no, we got to get out of here. We got to get to somewhere safe and everything like that. So basically, the whole poop hits a fan.
Yeah. It's something.
Is we don't know, and Greg said something like about the best movies are where you don't see the monster.
Yeah.
And so you don't see what it is. You don't know exactly what it is, but it's something that comes and makes people like die and makes them tragically like just die and commit suicide and
wait, before you
everything.
tell that, before I get that, it's like just here's something interesting. There's an aspect of the movie that they say something that makes you think, because like this movie reminds us of another movie we saw. We saw several movies, and this ties into so many movies. There's an aspect of it where if you look upon the creature or whatever it is, it'll make you want to die or make you want to see. So either you'll see or you'll die. And if you see, you want other people to see. And if you do see and you'll die, you automatically like want to kill yourself. And it's like you'll push yourself in front of a truck or walk into fire or all kind of stuff. Anyway, long story short, one of the things that's interesting about the whole thing is that there's a couple of tie-ins. Like I thought about when I was watching this, I thought about Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's an aspect where, remember in the very end of it, if you all saw the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, there was a part where he says to Marion, "Don't keep your eyes shut when you're opening up the Ark of the Covenant." And when they opened the Ark of the Covenant, out came they were like, "It's beautiful, it's beautiful," and then all of a sudden they started like catching on fire and blown up, boom, kind of thing, right? So that was really scary because you weren't expecting that to happen. They were trying to radio the voice box of God, and here it is. They're tying in and looking into it, and all of a sudden, boom, they're getting killed from it. And so that made me think about a couple verses in the Bible. And I don't know, it's just my tie-in to this, but I without spoiling the whole movie for you, there's a couple things where, like I was saying before, that there's an aspect where you see. So the Bible says in Mark chapter 8, it says it talks about when Jesus did a miracle. It says right here, and it says after that he put. Mark chapter 8, verse 25, it says, after that he put his hand again upon his eyes, and he made him look up, and he was restored, and saw every man clearly. Right? The next thing, too, it says, Revelation 1:7, it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all the kindred, that means all the families and all the people of the earth, shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. And so in this movie, I saw that very clearly. As soon as I saw that, I was thinking about, that ties into the Indiana Jones part and the Ark of the Covenant. Did you see that, Amy? Did you think about that too? Like that kind of thought. And so I kind of thought about that. Then the next part was like when people looked, they would immediately be afraid. Like, in the Bible talked about whenever they saw an angel in the Bible.
This wasn't of God.
This wasn't a Bible story. This was something. But in the Bible talks about like there are times where angels are sent to kill, like wipe out all of whole societies of people. Like you have it in 185,000 people were wiped out. Assyrians were killed by one angel. And so they have an aspect where it's like, when God comes to give out his wrath, and how it's pretty much, they talked about some of the people who could see would say, oh, he's coming to cleanse the city. He's coming, he's coming to make it all pure, cleanse all of us. Everyone will look, which tied into that verse very clearly for me when he said that every eye will see, And the twist at the end is so amazing. I'm not going to spoil it all for you. And Amy might want to spoil it, but I don't spoil it. But the twist at the end. But
there was a gut. Were you done?
Yeah, I'm pretty much just kind of my point. But I was just thinking that's kind of what I saw when I watched this movie.
Well, you think the movie was was of God?
Yeah, it was kind of like a pestilence type thing. And if you looked upon it, and a pestilence was like God sent an angel to Bible talked about how when you looked up, those who looked upon the in the wilderness, those who looked upon the cross in the wilderness, right? Like they would be healed, and those that didn't look would be killed by the fiery serpents. Remember that? And if I be lifted up in Romans chapter 3, in John chapter 3, it says about how as a serpent was lifted in the wilderness, so Christ will be lifted up, and all who look upon him will be saved. It was the reverse. So anyone who looked up will see, and it's like they'll get afflicted by it, or they might be seeing God, and God coming to destroy, sinners. You know?
Well, I didn't see it like that. I mean, I guess I saw the movie like kind of like the opposite of what you're kind of saying. I didn't really see it as God coming to judge. I just saw it was just like demonic and like some kind of like demons roaming the earth kind of thing, and like hurting people and persuading them to hurt themselves, and like the lies, of the devil, and trying to, hey, take off your blindfold, cut, it's me, like these demonic voices trying to make you, go to darkness. I saw it like that, how the devil works, and how he says, hey, come into the sin, come, I'm okay, you'll be okay too, and just I saw it like that more. I didn't see it, but then there was the guy in the movie.
So,
So the guy in the movie, he was talking about demons, and he worked at the grocery store or whatever. And so they were like, well, who said that? Who's gonna judge us? So everybody was questioning like that there was God that could possibly judge them. And then they questioned his education. They questioned where he worked. Like, how could you know this? Or why do you think you're a professional that you can even tell us this? You work at a. So the guy was talking, and then they questioned his education after, oh, you work at the grocery store? And then after the grocery store, then they say, oh, did you go to college? And he's like, no, I've been researching, and I'm writing a book. And they're just like, oh, like, basically you have no say, man.
yeah.
You have no say. You can't possibly be educated enough to be able to, basically say anything about this subject.
Right.
And that really hit me hard because, people think, oh, you have to go to medical school. You have to do this. You have to do that for anybody to possibly listen to you. And also, for you to be a doctor, basically. And so if you don't go to school, if you don't get that specific degree, you can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot talk about anything that has to do with that. You are not a professional at that. You can't say that. You always have to put a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. When you give any type of information about anything. I just think that's just so bad. Like, that no one, unless you go to some kind of school, you can't say anything about anything. Now, that could be anything like religious. Oh, you're not a pastor. Or you're not this person, or you're not that person, because you didn't go to seminary, or you didn't go to Bible school, or you didn't go this, wherever. You have nothing that you can say with quote-unquote authority because you didn't get that education. Now, I thought this guy was on the right path,
Yeah.
wisdom-wise, of maybe what was going on with this tragedy, and he was trying to make sense out of it, and he's saying, you know what? There's I know some information about, I believe, what's going on. And nobody wanted to listen to him. Nobody. Because he didn't have any education, quote unquote, that backed him up.
Yeah.
That's how the world is. People have wisdom, and a school didn't give it to them, and nobody gives them the time of day. They say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, and this, blah, 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 blah. And then here it is. You actually have wisdom, and you ain't a dummy.
You know what's interesting? I think to go along with that, there's an aspect of, like, it goes back to the affluence again. You see, the thing is that we are so quick to get comfortable in our situation that we forget the danger that we're in, because if something doesn't go along with what we're thinking. So, like, in this thing, I think on a philosophical point of view, there's an aspect of safety that people seem to find when they feel like they can rest in something that they're familiar with. Whenever somebody raises something that's different and contrary to what most people think about, they consider that quackery and they go back to what they thought about before. It's almost as if, the kids in the background yell, "Hey, Mom, Dad, you should stop the car." You said, "Why should we stop the car? There's a monster in the road." It's like, we're not stopping the car. There's no monster in the road. All of a sudden, there's a monster in the road. And you should have stopped the car, you know? Because you kind of go back to what you were thinking before, thinking, no, that's not true. It can't be true. I've been in this road before. Yabba dabba do. And what I thought was interesting, too, like what Amy was saying, is that, hey, people are very quick to dismiss. Like in the beginning of the movie, they explained how people were saying, oh, that's over there. It's not our problem. And if I can just keep the whole world away from me, if I can stay in my little bubble, then I'll be safe from whatever thing happens. Until it kind of crawls in. And, this movie reminds me also of Skyline. A little bit of Skyline. A little bit of, there's another movie where a bunch of actors were like at the end of the world or something like that. And then so it reminds me of a movie like that. It reminds me of a bunch of movies. And one of the things about it was that the movie doesn't tell you where the trouble comes from. It just tells you where it originally comes from. Yeah. It just kind of explains. It doesn't even explain much. It just you never see the monster, or maybe you do see a couple of things with the monster, and they try different ways to see the monster.
A shadowy figure.
Very scary, very very scary. So it's like one of those things where I think back to what it says in the Bible, when everybody saw an angel in the scripture, it was always fear not. I bring you good tidings of cheer. Good tidings of joy. Whenever I saw an angel, people always would fall down and they would hide their eyes or cover their faces. It was always one of those situations. Whenever they saw something from another, when they saw God, Moses saw God, his face started to glow and he had to hide in the rock because the glory of the Lord would kill him. It's like, there's so many things, and the Bible talks about the eye of the Lord is in every place. So then you have these things here. But to go back, people tend to be very, they tend to rest on what they are sure about until you kind of shake what they're sure about. And then, so that's what happens. That's why conspiracy theorists, quote unquote, conspiracy theorists, get such flack because people are just so confident that the news would tell them all the truth. Or that, all the information would be there for them so they could just, have it ready. So, they didn't learn that in school. They didn't learn it on TV. Definitely the news would tell us about it. And they were kind of hanging on, trying to listen to the news. And eventually the news went out. And anybody who looked, if anybody looked, they would be lost. They would be lost. That's it. So it's kind of one of those things where you could never look.
I'm just wondering, how did that black guy, that black actor, off the street, don't look up, don't look. How did he know so quickly? How did he know right away?
Maybe deduced it, because
right away. The guy, even before the radio guy talked about it, he basically was like, right after the tragedy's happening. Not totally right after, but like during. He's right away. He's like, don't look up, don't look. Let's get in this house.
Yeah.
Blinds. Put the blinds down. Let's not look outside.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, like I don't know. It was a pretty crazy movie. Just reaching, being willing to help people in the end times.
Yeah.
Be willing to help them because you were helped. But also have a balance not to let people in that may kill you or hurt you or take your food and run or take your car and run or take everything and run.
But see, that's where the problem is. Because let's go back one more time. Yeah, because you're not even sure.
You never know.
Because each person had to let somebody into their life or be allowed to be into their life, in order for them to get to safety or to further harm. So you didn't know which one it was. It was 50-50 every chance. It was like, I'm going to let this person in and they look okay. Or, I'm going to let this person that doesn't look okay, I'm going to let him in. And every single time it brought, there's almost like they have a situation where it's like, you thinking this is going to be good and it turns out bad. Or this is going to be bad and it turns out good. It kept you guessing each time. So you're not sure which one it's going to be.
Well, the whole thing is, ultimately they were all strangers to begin with.
Yeah.
And they warmed up to each other and they were able to trust each other a little bit, over time. And, I just thought about, like, okay, the one lady, the second pregnant lady, not Sandra, but second pregnant lady, she came in, she looked a little suspicious. They made the movie seem to be like she was a little suspicious. And then, then she's the dumb head that let the... What happened?
Yeah, trying to give all the details. Don't tell all the details, Because, like, if you tell the details, you're going to spoil it for them. They don't tell them the end and stuff.
I didn't tell them
I know,
the
but
end.
just don't tell them what the dumb head does,
Okay, well...
Kind of like, kind of leave a mystery there. It might be spoilers, but you want to tell them what happened?
I was in the middle of telling them.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But you interrupted me.
Go ahead.
So, basically, when you let people in your life, you don't know if they're going to be a good guy or a bad guy. That's my
Right.
point. And, she turned out to be a good girl.
Right.
And other people turned out to be bad guys. And that guy who gave wisdom, oh, this guy, we shouldn't let this guy in or whatever. And then they put him out.
Yeah, but it's like they're not
And
really
then,
sure. Not sure
no,
exactly.
but what I'm
Not sure
saying
who to
is
trust. It's like,
he actually ended up being a good guy. He was like, what are you doing? What are you doing with that? That guy's crazy. And the black guy didn't even listen to him. Why do you put the birds in the refrigerator? That kind of thing. Like, he did this, he did that. He's crazy. Get the gun. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like, you don't know. They could be warm for a lot of hours. They could be just normal people.
Right.
Normal people.
So then, yeah, pretty much it's just like, that's one of those things where you're not sure. And that's kind of how it is with real life. So what do you do? If you want to keep going forward, what do? You have to let people in, and they
You
might
have
hurt
to
you.
let them in, and then they might just be the ones to not literally stab you, but emotionally and relationship wise.
If anything, it's like the movie does seem like that's kind of the main theme of it. It's allowing people in.
Yeah.
And you're not sure what they're gonna do once they come into your life.
I mean, that was the entrance of the movie. Here you have a group of people that she's painting on a thing.
Yeah.
And they can't connect.
Right.
They're sitting in a big gigantic room. All these people, they're all lonely.
Yeah. And that's like how it is
So
now
that
with
the
people
whole
on their
movie,
computers and stuff, And
the whole movie is actually about people being in a big house and not knowing how to connect.
But then here it's
and
like
being sort of lonely.
Here it is also the thing with the baby too. The baby also is like an invader into her life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her sister's an invader into her life.
Yeah.
And then here it is like then she has to go to a doctor, and the doctor's an invader into their lives.
Yeah, trying to
change their opinion on stuff.
Yeah.
And then after that, the situation's an invader, and then after that they have to they're invading. The lady comes to invade her from being in harm, and then after that, they go into the house, and after that they're invaders into the house. Have to be let in.
Yeah.
And then after that, they wonder if let other people in. And then it goes back to being a kind of full circle again. Who are you going to let in? Who are you going to let in? Who are you going to let in? And then it goes into a thing where now there's also another element, and there's enemies out there. There's invaders coming to kill you, and invaders that, pretend to be good, but they're not good, and they come to get you.
And you don't know.
And then you can't stay where you are. And so each of it's kind of a progression. You have to keep moving. What I don't understand, though, here's a couple things I thought about was they survived for X number of years.
More than 5 years.
Yeah, more than 5 years.
Like that.
Yeah, and so I was thinking in all those times, there was an aspect where, she kind of reverted back to how she was in the beginning, in those 5 years, trying to control her situation. But then she had to kind of at one point just reckless abandon. We're going to run out of time here with our recordings. We have like just about 3 more minutes before we run out.
Well, I want to also say something.
Go ahead.
Okay. I really liked it eventually that she bonded with the people around her.
Yeah.
And, she always tried to put people at like arm's length and not really connect with them emotionally. And I think, maybe the way that she was raised, obviously apparently they said something about it, how the mom raised them, the sister and her, and then how the dad was not even there in her life. So already she didn't connect with people well.
Yeah.
So, and she didn't seem to try to like break that habit, but then this whole thing put her into a thing where at the end of the movie, basically she is connecting. She never really told people that she loved them. She never really wanted to even like be close to people. But little by little you see her like tiptoeing to be closer to people, kind of relying on people, loving them. And, she had a really, really, the whole time was difficult decisions to make to keep them alive. And she realized that she loves them and she wants them alive and she wants them to be there with her and she wants to be close to them and she really cares for them. And she never really connected with people before. So I just thought that was like one of the crying moments I had in the movie. Like just knowing that, sometimes you go through all this hurt in your life and you don't want to be close to anybody because they keep hurting you all the time, and you reach out and you get hurt. Reach out, you keep getting burned. But then there's people that are really, really, you take into your inner circle, your love, love them, they love you, and it's a beautiful thing.
One thing I want to say real quick is that I think the blindfolds itself was not really was actually kind of like the blindfolds were there to show that we really kind of going through life together, holding hands and trying to feel things out when enemies are looming that we don't understand, like life and death are all around us. And I think also towards the end of the movie, when she finally, in a sense, removes her blindfold, it's like it's putting herself in the hand of faith. It's kind of like it shows you the effects of faith. That they have a thing where blind faith, but also a thing about like trusting faith. Like you're gonna put your hope in there and believe. And there's a river scene that's very good, and it had to be like that, where there was decisions had to be made, and says, you know what, I've grown past my fears, I've grown past it, and she had to like just take it by the horns and just ride. And then there's another part in the very end where, well, I can't tell you the very end to spoil it, but just that it's where the blindfold comes off, and I think it's very good. What do you rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 4, A B C D?
I didn't like that it had a lot of cussing.
Yeah.
But I didn't like it that, had the killing.
Right.
But I did like the whole aspect of the storyline. It was very unique. It surprised you at every turn. The action, the down times where it's some humor. I thought it was a very intense movie. And, I mean, I thought it had some good moral, good stories. I mean, good lessons to be learned. Yeah, very cool.
Okay, so I give it a B plus because I believe that it was very good in terms of like all of the. Actually, it was very very good in terms of the plot and the structure. I give it instead of a B plus. I give it an A minus because of the car scene. Subtract from the car scene, and the concepts were really good, and everything was very well. You developed all the characters nicely. The cursing was a minus. It would have gotten a B plus if it wasn't an A plus. It wasn't for the cursing. Other than that, there's a couple of scenes in there of serious graphic violence, and I think we're run out of footage space in a minute. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening, and goodbye, and have a good night. And if you get a chance to watch this movie, just kind of watch it. We try not to spoil too much of it for you, so definitely watch it and leave your comments below and tell us what you thought about it.
Okay, bye,
Okay,
everyone.
bye. Have a good night. All right, bye. Hey, folks, we got a couple seconds. I just want to say a couple things. It seems as if the ability of the people, if they were already crazy, then they were messed up already. So when they saw this demon, whatever it was, it set them straight and they saw hope. Whereas a normal person who saw it would go crazy and kill himself. That's kind of what the idea I got from this one here. Aim, you think the same?
I just don't know the story about Gary.
Yeah.
Like, like, how did he come to their house and pretend he's all normal and everything like that, and persuade them, and then listen to music and everybody's happy and everything like that, and then he gets triggered by looking at the pictures of what he drew. I just don't understand how he was able to get infected by this thing